So we're staying on the topic of spring, on the topic of flowers and plants, and right now joining me in the garden is Mr. Ben Getz, as well as Heinz Winkler, talking about a plant that dates back to the 19th century. I'm talking about the Cape Gooseberry of lekkere appeliefies, which is a great addition to any garden. Heinz, I'm lekker confused hier vanoggend. Ben, hoe gaan het vanoggend?
Ja, lekker.
Lekker. So I want to ask you this. You're probably like me, Heinz, with our busy schedules, you don't really get a lot of time to spend in the garden, right?
No, I mostly play with my boys in the garden. That's about it.
Okay, that's indeed. But I mean, to keep the whole green fingers thing that you said to me, that's your wife's.
Yeah, she's much better in the garden than I am. So, yeah.
Well, good to know. Well, here's a nice little tip because we're talking about a very interesting plant. Ben, the appeliefi, the Cape gooseberry. Why is it called the Cape gooseberry in the first place?
Well, it was first commercially grown in the Cape of Good Hope, as you said, 19th century.
Yes.
It actually comes from South America, so it got the name Cape Gooseberry because it's grown here and was exported from here.
But today it grows all over the place.
It grows wild.
Why goose? Do geese like it, or does it give you goosebumps when you eat it?
A bit of both.
Okay.
No, I'm sure that the geese like it as well. Everyone likes it.
So I mentioned that it's a good addition to any garden, but from a garden point of view, why would it make a great addition?
Well, the obvious thing is that it's delicious and it's beautiful and it's a lot of fun. You said you like to play with your kids in the garden, so I mean that's the obvious. But from a garden design point of view, it makes a really good hedge.
Yes.
It can act as a windbreak. It's super hardy. I mean, it can tolerate dry and quite a heavy wind. So in our kind of larger community food gardens, we often use Cape gooseberries as part of the perennial edge to shelter the rest of the vegetable garden.
Yeah, and it's really such a nice plant. Dit vat my terug na my kinderdae toe, because I used to on my grandma's garden and my mom's garden, we always had a big bush of those gooseberries, and just standing there next to a plant and just eating the fruit was just so amazing. Such a nice memory. But if you want these plants to flourish in your garden, what do you need to know in terms of your soil preparation? What do you need to do?
Well, it's another great plant in the garden because it practically grows itself. I mean, it needs well draining soil. It doesn't need fertilizer. Yeah. So like a sandy soil, for example, in Cape Town, it grows, and as we said, Cape gooseberries, it grows so easily here. As long as your soil's well draining, and actually it tends to like a slightly poorer soil. Okay. If you give too much compost, too much fertilizer, it's going to get very lush, lots of foliage and less fruit. So you actually, you kind of need to let it do its own thing, and it will seed itself as well.
Cool. And just lastly, I know like many other plants, I mean, is it susceptible to any pests, diseases, and how do you go about treating them if they do?
Well, like a lot of fruiting plants, and it's actually in the same family as tomato, for example, it is susceptible to mildew, any kind of fungal and bacterial infections, mostly fungal. And that's firstly too much water. And if there's too much water, it will be susceptible. If it hasn't been pruned and it's slightly too wild, it might be susceptible. The easiest thing to do for any mildew or fungal infection is literally half and half water and milk. That's it. You can even use sour milk. So instead of chucking away your sour milk, you can make a little solution of this, mix it up, and just spray it all over the plant.
Care of it.
It helps to stop the fungal infections. I mean, my grandmother literally wipes the leaves of her orchids with this kind of solution.
That is brilliant. Ben, thank you so much for coming through. I hope you took some good tips, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go one of these. I mean, definitely fun.
I'm going to tweet about it right now.
Heinz is going to tweet about our appeliefies right now. Okay, so a little bit later, we're going to take a quick break. After the break, we're coming back. We're actually cooking with gooseberries. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned.